So I'm going to blame this one on you guys. A lot of you in the comments recently have been saying, man, you got all of this expensive sim racing gear. Why are you still using those old Astro A40 headphones? So I read a few of those comments and that kind of started me thinking about new headphones and wondering, I guess, where headphones have come or how far headphones have come over the last 8 years since I last looked at gaming headphones specifically. Now, as you guys would know that have been watching the channel for a while, I did actually used to work for Sony head office. And so I've got a lot of experience with their range of headphones over the last 10 years. Wireless headphones, noise cancelling headphones, monitor headphones, bass expander headphones, and so forth. So I've tried a lot of different headphones over the years and I've got a pretty good idea of, you know, what sounds good, what sounds bad, and what sounds in between, to me at least. But anyway, the other night I was taking off my headphones after a long iRacing session and one of the ear cups actually cracked on me, which meant I was now forced to make a decision. So I did a ton of research, tried a few different things out in store, and ended up landing on the Sennheiser GSP 550 Dolby 7.1 headphones. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look and reviewing those. G'day guys, Will here, welcome back to the channel. Now I know that headphones can be a very personal thing, both in terms of the design, the sound profile, all those kinds of things, and a lot of people look for various different features, benefits, and of course sound characteristics when they're choosing a set of headphones. And that applies to headphones that you wear day to day, Bluetooth headphones for listening to music, gaming headphones, professional sound headphones for seeing things like mixing and, you know, professional audio production. There's a massive different range of things that people look for. So what I aim to try and achieve in this video is going through the features and benefits of these headphones in particular, the GSP 550s, talking about their construction, their comfort, the sound quality, the sound profile, what they actually sound like. I'm not going to try and say these are better than anything else or worse than anything else. Basically, I'm just going to give you an idea of the experience of using these. Now, the reason I'm doing that is so that you can make your own decision based off my opinion, rather than me trying to jam down your throat that these are absolutely the headphones that you should be buying. Now, the main thing that I look for personally when I'm choosing a set of headphones is a nice linear frequency response from very low frequency all the way through to high frequency. And the reason for that is that I like to be able to fine tune the listening experience to suit the style of music or the style of audio that I'm actually listening to. Now, if all you ever listen to is bass heavy music like R&B, you know, styles like that, then you might actually preference headphones like Beats, for example, that really do give you that crazy thumping bass, to the detriment of some of the other audio ranges throughout the spectrum. So, you know, with Beats in particular, I always find, you know, they sound really great in the bass department, but they can be a little bit lacking in the top end, a little bit lacking in the mids, and just sound overall a little bit thin. Now, a lot of other brands like Sony offer a really diverse range of different styles depending on the type of music that you're wanting to listen to. So say, for example, we've got studio style, which are great for mixing audio because you get a really clean and linear profile. Then you've got crazy bass headphones like these ones, XBR range, which give you crazy bass to the detriment, kind of like Beats. They sound really good in the bass department if you're listening to drum and bass or R&B, but they kind of sound a little bit crappy if you're listening to something like rock or heavy metal or something like that. But Sennheiser have always been fantastic at positioning their brand more towards the sort of audiophile and professional market, meaning they offer a nice linear frequency response that you can really fine tune and dial in if you know what you're doing to suit whatever style of music or listening that you might be doing. So that is the main reason why when I saw that Sennheiser were now making gaming headphones, I jumped in straight away and got really interested in these. So I ended up choosing the GSP 550 over the 600 simply because I wanted to have Dolby 7.1 for sim racing. I feel like that's really important in terms of immersion. Now, the limiting factor here is that they are only compatible with PC. So if you are looking at driving something off, you know, your smartphone, for example, or your PS4 or your Xbox or something like that, you're probably going to want to look at the 600s, which don't offer surround sound. So do just keep that in mind. The GSP 550s are only compatible with PC. I also want you guys to understand that I did pay full retail for this product. I'm not a brand ambassador for Sennheiser. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form. So anyway, let's jump in and take a look at these headphones. So while you guys are taking a more detailed look at these headphones, I do just want to quickly run you through a few of the tech specs here. So first of all, weight is 395 grams. So they're not the lightest headphones out there, but they're certainly not heavy. And one thing that I will touch on later on in this review is that they are very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, but we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Now, frequency response wise, we've got a very wide scope here from 10 hertz all the way up to 30 kilohertz. So the average person in their 20s to 40s can usually hear a frequency range from around sort of 50 to 100 hertz through to sort of 16 to 20 kilohertz. But having headphones that can actually respond to frequencies outside of that range adds things like harmonics and a little bit of dynamics to the sound as well. So it is important for quality headphones to be able to produce those frequencies, even though you might not necessarily be able to hear them directly. Now, sound pressure level wise, we've got 107 decibels at 1 kilohertz, which means they are nice and loud. You're not going to have any issues with low volume. Total harmonic distortion is also impressive at 0.12%, measured at 1 kilohertz, 100 decibels sound pressure level, or 200 millivolts RMS. So you're not going to get a lot of distortion through these headphones, even if you do crank them up quite loud. Now, we will take a look at the microphone in more detail later on, let you have a listen to that as well. But the frequency response there is 10 hertz all the way through to 18 kilohertz.
Okay, so headset is on, but before we talk about comfort and adjustment and all that sort of thing, I want to talk about the microphone, because that is what you're actually listening to right now. The microphone is active, and you can see the first little thing is that when it actually switches itself off, which is really cool. It means that you don't have to go in and mute it in settings or anything like that. If you don't want to talk to people, or you don't want people to hear what you're saying, you simply flick it up and they can't hear you anymore, which is a really nice little feature. And then a nice little audible click there that you get as you rotate it around. Now, it's also got a really nice action to it as well. As you adjust it up and down, it's really smooth, feels really purposeful, and doesn't feel cheap at all. There's absolutely no play in it whatsoever. It feels like a nice expensive piece of kit. And while we're on the subject of that, the knob on the side here for volume as well is also really, really nice feeling. It's nice and stiff, but not in a sort of like you have to really force it kind of way. It just feels like it's got like almost like a hydraulic damper behind it. Really, really nice feeling to it. But what I want to do is I just want to quickly compare the quality of the audio that you're hearing right now to my Rode Broadcaster microphone, which is what I normally use. Now, there's a couple of advantages and disadvantages to using a headset mic over that. So I'm just going to quickly jump across to it now for you.
Okay, so you're listening to the audio from my Rode Broadcaster mic. Now, that's about a $450, $500 microphone Australian, and that's before you include a preamp or anything like that. Now, you can hear that there's a lot more depth to my voice using the Rode Broadcaster. You get a lot more of that deep sort of radio tone going on. But the downside to that is that it also picks up a lot more ambient noise around as well. So you can probably actually hear birds chirping in the background. My wife and my son are out in the kitchen area banging around and doing things as well. So it does pick up a lot more stuff like that. So that's sort of the trade-off. Unless you're in a really quiet environment, using a sort of broadcast style microphone can be a little bit problematic. Whereas the microphone that's built in, actually, you know, I think it hits a pretty good balance between sound quality and sound isolation. Now, it does still pick up a little bit of ambient noise and things like that, but I can actually get away with recording videos and streaming and things like that while other people are home. Whereas previously, when I was using the broadcaster, it was basically impossible to do anything unless the house was completely silent, which is pretty hard when you got a wife and kids that are all trying to live their lives as well around you. So I'm going to leave the microphone set to the broadcaster just for now while I'm moving things around and showing you all the adjustment and everything, because I don't want you to be listening to all the popping and crackling and shuffling around. But basically, you've got the adjustments on the top here as well as the ear cup adjustments. So you show you just there. You can see it moves in a huge range there, so you can fit it over a hat. Don't know how it's going to go with VR. We'll have to sort of check that out a little bit later on once I get my VR headset happening. But there's a huge scope of adjustment here for the ear cups. So if you've got a really tall head or anything like that, I've got actually a pretty small head, but it fits me really comfortably. What I do have, though, is massive ears, as you guys have probably noticed before. And I can say that the over-the-ear style ear cups that we get with these fit really, really nicely over my ears. I've had these on for up to almost 7 hours straight while I've been working and listening to music and things like that, and no problems at all with comfort whatsoever. I didn't have any problems with my Astro A40s or really any other headphones that I've ever bought for using in the office at all, but the weight of these coming in at just under 400 grams, as we mentioned before, as well as the fitment and everything, is absolutely fine. You've got these little adjustments, like I said here, that slide in and out, and they actually adjust the tension on the top of your head as well, so the pressure that you feel on the top of your skull versus the force inside the cups as well. But yeah, full marks for fitment and adjustability. The only way I think that they could honestly be any more comfortable is if they were constructed of carbon fiber or something like that, so a little bit lighter. That's not to say that they're too heavy or anything like that. They fit really well, and it's kind of like wearing a pair of shoes. You just, after a while, you forget that you're even wearing them unless you think about it. And this is just the same. When I'm sitting at my desk, after about 10 minutes or so of listening to music, I completely forget the fact that I'm even wearing headphones. And because they do have the open back design as well that you can see there, you do still have a lot of ambient sort of noise going on around you as well. But, you know, it isolates enough sound that it's not distracting, but you are still aware of your surroundings. So it's not like every single time somebody wants to talk to you, kind of going, what? Like I was finding with other headphones. But really, really comfortable, really, really easy to wear for long periods of time. No problems at all there. Now, another thing that I do want to mention quickly there as well is I really like the fact that these are replaceable fabric ear cups as well. They're really nice and high quality. The stitching's all really good. And yeah, you can actually buy replacements from Sennheiser as well, which is a nice touch. Now, one problem that I had with Sony headphones in the past, which I can point out, is they use this horrible pleather sort of material, which is, you know, it's soft and comfortable and it feels quite nice. And it has the advantage of not picking up dandruff and stuff like that. But I found that now these headphones, they look pretty beaten up and horrible. I wore these for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for nearly 5 years when I used to work at Sony's head office. And you can see they're all cracked and nasty now. But what I find with the sort of plastic pleathery stuff is that it does start to flake off after a while and you end up with this black crap. You can see that a little bit on my finger there. You end up with this black crap all over everything. And every pair of headphones that I've ever had that's constructed of this material has ultimately done this at some point. Now, I'm not trying to rat on Sony here by any means. These headphones are obviously very old and very, very, very well used, but it is just something to be aware of. If you're using those sort of pleathery material, over time, inevitably, it will start to break and crumble when it picks up oils from your skin and stuff like that. And it will start to go crackly. And I actually ended up, the only reason I stopped using these headphones is because they were leaving black pieces all over my face all the time. And it was quite, you know, embarrassing walking around an office with bits of plastic stuck to my face. Plus, they just sort of start to look a little bit ratty. So while we're on the subject of build quality, I do just want to quickly show you a couple of other little details here. So first of all, these little side parts are quite a nice design. They're nice and plain. They're not over the top gimmicky with all that plastic rubbish everywhere that you often get with gaming headphones. I think that Sennheiser have hit a nice balance between sort of a gaming look and feel, but not being over the top and childish looking. They still look like a professional kind of quality piece of kit, which I like. Now, another thing to note as well is that the Sennheiser logo here on the side is actually slightly raised. You probably can't see it there on the camera. Oh yeah, there you can. You can just see it on the camera there slightly. But it is slightly raised. Now, I'd originally wanted to actually wrap these with like a carbon fiber or a brushed aluminium or something and then put my own Boosted Media logo on there, but because that's raised, you kind of, it's going to show through a little bit. Now, one thing you can do is actually remove these really easily. They just pop off like that and just clip off. Now, I assume that at some point Sennheiser are planning on selling replacements, or you might even be able to order custom ones or something like that. At the moment, as far as I can tell, at least in Australia, there's nothing available on their website, but they are easily removable. They clip on and clip off. It would be nice if you could take them off and have it not look like it's an unfinished product with them off. I'll just quickly pop it off again for you now. And you can see there, when you have that clipped off, it does look like there's something missing. It'd be nice if underneath the cover was just a nice plain black design that didn't look unfinished, because some people might not want to have, you know, green highlights on their headset while they're gaming or streaming or whatever. They might not also want to be advertising a brand and things like that. But that said, it is a nice plain minimalistic sort of design that I don't think is too over the top for most people. But anyway, time to talk about sound quality. So I've really been putting these through their paces over the last 3 or 4 days since I received them. I've been listening to podcasts, lots of music. I've been playing sim racing games. I've done first-person shooters, and all of those different types of usage scenarios all kind of rely on different aspects of sound quality to deliver a good experience. So say, for example, sim racing, you really want to be able to hear the details in the engine. You want to hear the cracks and popples when popples. You want to hear the cracks and pops when you lift off the gas. You want to hear the brake squealing. You want to hear cars coming up alongside you and things like that. And I find that the detail is really, really immersive there. Way, way, way better than the Astro A40s that I had previously. And I kind of almost feel like I've been missing out for all this time because I kind of resisted getting new headphones. And the overall quality of the sound is so much better for sim racing. So definitely really impressed there. The detail that you get, sort of finesse in the various different sounds, and also the separation as well. With the 7.1 Dolby surround sound, you really do hear the separation between the different aspects of the sound. It doesn't all sort of muddy together and blur together into one sort of mess. You can sort of listen to the engine, or you can listen to the brakes, you can listen to cars coming up alongside you. And that makes a big difference, not in terms of overall speed, but I'd say in terms of immersion. You really feel like you're inside a car, you're driving in a real car and you can hear what's going on around you a lot better than you could with the stereo headphones that I had previously. So definitely a big thumbs up there. The same deal as well with first-person shooters. You can really rely a lot more heavily on hearing movement around you and sort of pinpointing where people are shooting at you or where people are coming up behind you, just by listening. And that's so important. A lot of people use things like sonic radar from Asus to actually show on the screen where the sound is coming from. And I found that you really don't need that with these headphones, because you can really identify very accurately where sounds are coming from around you. And again, you've got that separation between different types of sound. You can really hear, grass rustling and, bullets shooting past you, people shooting or people yelling and screaming from the distance. So the sound separation is really good there too. Now, listening to music, these actually excel as well because they've got such a nice linear frequency response. You can really fine tune the audio to suit whatever style of music you're listening to. I've listened to a lot of hip hop stuff recently. I've listened to some drum and bass as well as some heavy metal and even some pop music. And I don't really like to admit that, but I do listen to pop occasionally. But, everything from the high frequency, the high frequency sounds like, glass shattering and stuff like that. I listen to a lot of Michael Jackson, and a lot of his tracks have sound effects like, glass shattering and things like that. And you really do hear the fine detail in all those little things. It's not muddied out by the bass. There's still that kind of effect of separation like we had in the games that we were talking about, where even if you've got pumping bass in the background, you can still hear those fine details in the mids and the highs, which you often miss on cheaper headphones. Because headphones tend to use a single driver, what happens is if you've got a lot of sound pressure coming out of the center where the bass is sort of coming from, that also distorts the outer areas of the speaker cone, which is what produces your mids and then your high tones out towards the end. So the more sound pressure or the more vibration that's happening on the diaphragm of the speaker, the more distortion you get and the more muddied those other sounds become. So obviously they're using a really high quality driver here because you don't get a lot of distortion, or not really any perceivable distortion, at least for me, when you've got a hard bass sort of kicking in with fine details at the same time. Now, because of the nice linear frequency response here, if you're listening to something that you want to tune out a little bit of bass, you can do that and you don't lose the detail. You still kind of have that feeling of the thud of the kick drum without that sort of warbling sound in the background. And while obviously it's not able to reproduce that feeling of having a big subwoofer next to you, which no headphone can really do because that's sort of all about the sound pressure actually hitting your body and, making your body reverberate. But you do get that really solid sense of bass that really sort of reverberates inside your head. And it's a good listening experience. So I would definitely say if you're buying these primarily for gaming, but also wanting to listen to a little bit of music, regardless of the type of music you're wanting to listen to, you can fine tune the EQ inside your various different software settings to fine tune them to suit your particular needs. Now, it's the same deal with listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, and things like that as well. Voices are reproduced very accurately, obviously depending on the quality of the microphone that the person's using to record the video or the podcast, but you get that really sort of high quality broadcast radio tone with the deep pitched voice. I'm listening to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts at the moment, and his voice comes through really clearly, the same as it does on my $1,000 desktop speakers that I use. So really good listening experience there. And again, you can fine tune the EQ to sort of suit the type of voice that you're listening to. So if you're listening to a lot of female voices that are a little bit more squeaky, you can tone down the high range a little bit, increase the mids, and you get a nice quality tone that you can listen to for long periods of time. If you've got somebody that's got a really deep boomy voice, you can fine tune that as well. Now, while we're on the subject of fine tuning audio, this is one area that I do think that Sennheiser could improve on quite dramatically. So on your screen now is the little widget that you get with these headphones. So you have to go on the Sennheiser website and download this. Now, I use the word widget very selectively here because it really is extremely limited in what it can do. So you can see here you've got a little equalizer tab, you've got a noise reduction tab, as well as a side tone tab here. So the equalizer tab, all you can really do here is choose between music EQ, esports EQ, and game EQ. And while these do they do make a difference, why the heck can't you have your own custom EQs here? Why don't you have sliders? Why can't you fine tune things here to suit your specific needs, especially when you've got a headset that's got such a beautiful linear frequency response? It's almost, it's highly disappointing, but it almost seems ridiculous that you don't have more heavily featured software here that really allows you to fine tune your audio, especially from a company like Sennheiser. Come on, guys, what are you doing here? I mean, I know they're gaming headphones, but really, you can do better than this. Now, I run third-party software that allows me to fine-tune my EQs, so it's not too much of an issue for me, but there's no reason why out of the box they can't give you some sort of a custom EQ here to be able to adjust it. But where they do sort of excel here is that it is a nice, easy piece of software to use. I guess maybe what they're trying to make you do here is buy one of their headphone amplifiers or something like that. I don't know. I haven't actually tested one of those out. But really, I think this is the only area that I've been disappointed so far with these headphones is the software. There's really no reason that I can see why it can't be better. So you've got a music EQ, an esports EQ, and a game EQ. And none of those I really found were particularly to my personal taste. You've also got the little switch here to switch between Dolby on and off. And you also do have on the little dongle here as well, which I'll show you in a bit more detail a bit later on, a little on-off switch. So you can see there when you switch it on, it goes red and matches the software, and off it goes kind of a bluey white kind of color that indicates that it's off. So it's nice that you have that little dongle there so that you can switch it on and off on the fly without having to sort of alt tab and go and do software things. So across to noise reduction, I'll quickly jump back to the onboard sound again, or the headset mic, so you can hear what this does. So there we go, we're back on the headset mic now. So noise reduction off, so it's off at the moment, and that is on. So you can hear there the different various sounds that are going on around me, things like that. Off, on. So that's what that does. And then finally we have side tone. So this is a feature that allows the audio that's coming in through the microphone to be rerouted back through the headset so you actually hear yourself talking. Sort of produces almost like a bit of an echoing effect here, and you can choose between low, mid, or high. So if for some reason you're in a noisy environment and you need to be able to hear yourself or something like that, you can use this. I don't personally see any reason why I would ever need it, but it's there if you want it for some reason. So that is the very, very, very basic software, and I do hope that they improve on that in the future. And I think the big missing feature there really is a adjustable or custom EQ that allows you to adjust the sounds to your preferences. So that is the software. Okay, so before we wrap up, there's one other thing that I just want to quickly touch on here. Now, while the cable is a really nice, high-quality silicon sort of based cable that is nice and floppy, it's got a good bend radius here as well, so it doesn't get in the way, it doesn't kink, it doesn't bend and sort of get crinkled up and things like that. So it's really nice. But one thing that I don't understand is why the dongle, which is down here, which you can have a bit of a better look at now on the full screen. I don't know why this is so far down the cable. I mean, we've got all this length here. And why would you not have that up here where it's nice and close to your chest and you can just press the button? Like if you're in a rig or something like this, you kind of got to fish down the cable, find it, and then press the button. Now, it's not a button that you're going to press very often whatsoever, so it's not really a problem. But I just don't understand what they were thinking when they did this design. So the dongle itself is actually closer to the PC end than it is to the headphone end. So if you've got your PC a long way away from where you are, which is often the case with a simulator, then you've got maybe a meter of USB cable to the dongle and then another sort of meter and a half, almost 2 meters to the headset. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense there. So I'd like to see in the next revision that moved up here so that you've got the dongle here, maybe a length of cable, and then maybe a USB adapter later on. Now, it is good that it's a USB adapter, because it means that if you do stamp on it or break it somehow, you're likely to just break the micro USB connection and not the dongle itself. And obviously, just being a regular micro USB cable, there's no reason why you can't just go to your local electronics store and buy a replacement. So it's not a proprietary cable, which I think is a very, very smart move on their part, because a lot of people stand on these sorts of things when they get up from their chair, get it hooked around a chair and move their chair out from the desk and rip it apart. And I've actually had that happen on a couple of sets of headphones before. But anyway, Sennheiser, if you're watching this, please fix that in the future model, because it is a bit strange. It's not a problem, just something that's a little bit strange. Okay, guys, so that is my review of the Sennheiser GSP 550 7.1 surround sound gaming headset. So overall, look, I've got to say I'm really impressed with the product. I think all of the things that are important, like sound quality, microphone quality, fit and finish, build quality, and of course comfort, they've really hit the nail on the head with all of those things. Obviously, they are a little bit on the pricey side, but you do get what you're paying for. And I think if they can improve those couple of little things, like giving us a custom EQ inside the software, as well as moving the dongle thing that I can't even find on the cable, there it is, all the way down there. But yeah, move that up. Move that up, guys. But yeah, other than those little tiny things there, that aren't really problems, just things that can be improved. I'm really, really impressed with this product. So if you do want to pick up one of these headsets, I do have a Amazon link above my head for you right now, as well as in the description. A small amount of the profit from those, about 5%, goes towards helping out the channel. So more equipment to do better quality video, better quality sound, and of course gear to review for you guys as well. And we're also working towards hopefully making this a full-time job as well soon, so that I can do more videos more frequently and of higher quality. We're also building our studio at the moment as well, which is really exciting. We can get out of this tight little space, but I digress. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you've liked the video. Hit the thumbs down if you haven't. Let me know in the comments what I can improve as well if you have hit the thumbs down button, because what we want to do here is make the videos as good as they can possibly be. But most importantly, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss the next video, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.